Hey guys, welcome back to the Hess Project. I'm John Dortolaza, and today we're going right back into the DCEU, the Snyderverse specifically, and we're going to be talking about the most polarizing, in my timeline, the most polarizing superhero film, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, the Ultimate Edition. Let's talk about it. Now, if you know me, I've talked about this in multiple paragraphs across Instagram, Facebook for the last few years. Well, mostly towards when it came out first, and then I did a review for it on my old show back in high school, and now I'm here to talk about this movie once again for the millionth time. I have thoughts. Some of them still might be the same from years ago, but honestly, after rewatching it just a couple days ago, I have some new thoughts, and I feel like my thoughts have matured over the years about this film, and I would like to share them. I can see Zack Snyder's vision very clearly starting in this film. Yes, he directed Man of Steel, but I personally feel like that stands alone on its own. This one does build off of that, of course, but, I feel like the vision, the overarching vision of the Snyderverse kicks off in this movie using the events of Man of Steel in such a good way. It starts off with Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne running through the streets of Metropolis during the battle of Superman and General Zod at the end of Man of Steel. He's talking to one of his workers, trying to help him, trying to save him, get out of this building before it collapses, but it's too late. It collapses. Badass Bruce Wayne is just running through that smoke, and he manages to save a little girl who lost her parents during this big fight. And that was the day that Ben Affleck's Batman just hated Superman, just started hating on him. And granted, look, that is a really great way to depict a rivalry between Batman and Superman. A really good way. But as the movie goes along, you start to see another plot that comes into play with Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor that kind of sets up the actual fight between Batman and Superman. And that's my biggest gripe with this film. You can say what you want about Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. I'm not going to waste any time talking crap about him or saying he was amazing or saying he was terrible. I was just not into it. I wasn't. I don't like the quirkiness of this guy's personality. It was not very entertaining to me, and I just felt disinterested every time he was on screen. There's certain lines that were really cool and could have been delivered amazingly if there was a more serious take on Lex Luthor in this film, but there just isn't. So yeah, I just feel like there's a lot of great dialogue from him, a lot of really cool, ominous dialogue. Black and blue. Day versus night. Fight night. Whatever he said. It's all cool. The red capes are coming. Like, I really like all of that dialogue. There's a lot of really cool dialogue written. A lot of good writing written in here. But the execution of almost everything in this movie is questionable, in my opinion. I just can't help but leave this movie after watching it for like the third or fourth time just with so many questions and head scratchers. Like, why did they do this? Why did they do that? I'm trying to be fair to this movie because a lot of people do defend the Zack Snyder movies, and I understand that if you love them, you are welcome to love them. It is your right to love whatever the hell you want. But you cannot just blindly defend a movie that has flaws. This movie could have been better suited if it was titled Batman and Superman, or if it was Batman and Superman Dawn of Justice. I think if you got rid of the whole versus or V or X, like, don't do any of that, because you do set mild expectations when you do something like that. My other biggest gripe is I love the animated film The Dark Knight Returns. I love both Part 1 and Part 2. Really great animation. I love that story being told. That was the first time I was exposed to that story. I have the graphic novel. I just haven't read it yet. I will someday. But I just really love that story. It's a nice end story for Batman and Superman, down the line after they've developed a relationship over the years with the Justice League and the Trinity and, all that. Like, after that, I have issues with Zack Snyder taking bits from that storyline and weaving it into his storyline. Yes, those were the best parts of the movie, but that doesn't mean it made the film better, in my opinion. I don't have a problem when creators or directors want to take aspects from other storylines in comic books and put it in their own adaptation. That's not what I'm saying. I feel like he banked on the idea of Batman versus Superman so much that he raised everybody's expectations and thought we were going to get the dopest fight between these two on screen. It's very entertaining to watch, I will give you that, but it could have been so much more. That's what I feel about the movie in general. This movie could have offered and delivered so much more, but Zack Snyder wants to focus on grounding this godly character. And look, I have no problem with how it was done in Man of Steel. I thought it was done really well there. But I just feel like they took those aspects of Man of Steel, doubled down on them in Batman v Superman, and it just didn't work for me. It at times is boring when I see a bunch of humans talking about how Superman is dangerous for like 30 plus minutes across the whole movie, just spread out. It gets a little repetitive, and it's just not my thing. Going back to what I said about, Lex's plot became the catalyst for Batman and Superman actually clashing in this movie. Yeah, I don't care about Lex's plan. It's not very good in my opinion. His whole plan seems to bank on tricking Bruce Wayne into thinking that all these disasters that throughout the movie Superman is blamed for, like killing all the people in that one foreign country and then destroying the whole Capitol building and killed hundreds of people in that building. Like, he's trying to trick Bruce Wayne into thinking that Superman did that and he is this menace, trying to build off of the disaster of Metropolis at the end of Man of Steel, because yeah, you can say that's Superman's fault, fine, you can say that, but Lex's plan was to trick the world's greatest detective into thinking Superman did all of these other travesties and whatnot. And I love Ben Affleck as Batman. His Bruce Wayne isn't very present in this movie. Yeah, he shows up as Bruce Wayne all the time throughout the movie, but it's not the Bruce Wayne that we know from like Christian Bale or Michael Keaton. It's very different. He's obviously kind of sidelined a little bit because you have to share the spotlight with Superman and Henry Cavill as Clark Kent. Whereas the theatrical cut of this film is 2.5 hours long, and it just left even more questions when this 3-hour Ultimate Edition came out, and we thought, all right, this 30 minutes better go all into the fight. No, it adds more context to Bruce Wayne, just a little bit, a lot more to Clark Kent, him investigating with, what's happening with the bat and whatnot, like, what's he doing? Batman is very, very vicious in this film. He is so different, unlike we've never seen him before in any of the films. That is the biggest plus that this film has to offer. It's given us Ben Affleck as the most brutal Batman that we've ever gotten on screen. And that warehouse scene, all of it is just really good. Just like every other Zack Snyder film, I think the action is incredible. The cinematography, amazing, beautiful at times. The score by Hans Zimmer and Junkie XL is incredible. I love it. I love the Batman theme song when it kicks in. Just all those drums, man. It's just so epic, so badass. And I was listening to it. I was in denial of the movie at first when I first saw it, but I was not in denial about this soundtrack. This soundtrack is God tier, let me tell you that. It's really good. Just the style of Hans Zimmer mixing with a Junkie XL who did Mad Max Fury Road, and I believe the second 300, Rise of an Empire. I think he did that one. Yeah, I just really like those two styles meshing together, and it was really cool. It made for a really awesome soundtrack. As I watched the movie again, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman isn't as jarring of an addition to the film as I once thought it was. She actually fit well, kind of, in the movie. She just didn't need to be there still, but it fits, I guess. It's fine, it's whatever. But what still bugs me to my core is the forceful introduction of the metahuman / the other members of the Justice League, Aquaman, Flash, Cyborg, and how they just had logos pre-made for them on Lex's flash drive. And it's just the most cheesy last-minute footage that they put together. It just looks terrible in my opinion. It looks very slapped together and uninspired, and I just wasn't into it. I mean, the Cyborg one is fine. I don't have an issue with the Cyborg one, but come on, man. Jason Momoa in a pond, just coming out with his scepter, trident, whatever the it's called, and then just starts poking the screen. Like, that wasn't... I didn't care. That looks so dumb. Dumb. And then you have long-haired woman beater Ezra Miller just sweeping through the 7-Eleven making sure that someone doesn't get robbed. If people thought that Avengers Age of Ultron was forcefully setting up other films and installments in the MCU, this movie does it terribly, in my opinion. Like, Avengers, fine. If you fine. At least they had a good movie to where they can get to the point to what they were setting up. Batman v Superman is so freaking ambitious in a bad way. Like, it focuses a lot of scenes in this movie to set up things that Zack Snyder wants to do in the future. And granted, yes, he is getting his 4-hour Zack Snyder director's cut of Justice League coming next month. That's awesome. I can't wait to watch that. He just banked on so many things in Batman v Superman to set up his future movie. It was just a mess. And I know he had like 2 Justice League movies planned. He's probably only gonna get the one. But yeah, it's just the whole scene of Flash coming back in time to warn Bruce, and then the whole Doomsday thing. I mean, I'm not even gonna talk about Doomsday. It was just hot garbage. He looks whatever. The fight scene was kind of cool. Didn't need to happen. It didn't need to happen. It was just so much crap going on at once. And it just felt like some things needed to cook a little longer and be set up a little bit more throughout the first half of the movie. Because Doomsday did just kind of come out of nowhere. You know, Lex going into the old generator ship, whatever the freak it's called. Whatever Zod was using in the first movie. He goes into that, uses his own blood, uses Zod's body to make Doomsday. There's just so much potential to have a really dope introductory movie for Batman in this universe. And they took the best aspects of a really dope end story for Batman. And Zack utilized parts of that story, of the Dark Knight Returns story, as crutches for his own story. And at the end of the day, those crutches broke, in my opinion. This movie is a fail. Cool at times, really cool to watch, but it's way too long. I hope to God that this Zack Snyder director's cut of Justice League doesn't bore me to death because it's 1 hour longer than Batman v Superman. I hope that it's filled with more action than this. And I gotta throw this in here. The Martha scene. I'm not as mad about it as I once was, but I will say this. The Martha scene works, but not really. I can understand where Bruce Wayne is coming from. You know, they had that whole opening recapping his tragic loss of his parents when he was little, and his father whispering the name Martha. So it shows the humanity in this devilish character of Batman in this movie. In that moment when he's about to stab Superman with the kryptonite staff, he loses a little bit of his humanity when Lois comes back and she tries to stop him saying, it's his mother's name, and he's screaming, why did you say that name? She kind of snaps Bruce back into reality, back into his human form, and realizes that, oh, he's got a mother too with the same name as my mother? There's a connection of humanity somewhere in there, but I feel like it's just too detached. I feel like that ideal, that premise is too detached from the film that the average moviegoers will not care to understand it, will not care to look deeper into it and understand it. I love Batman and Superman. I love those characters, so I didn't mind, you know, thinking about it for a while or so. It's been cooking in my head for years, guys, and it only clicked when I watched it a couple days ago. And look, I forgive the Martha scene. It's misunderstood and it's not executed well. And that just says a lot about this film. There's a lot of execution that didn't hit the mark. I'm done. I don't want to talk about it anymore, guys. Let me know down below in the comments, what did you think of Batman v Superman? Did you like the theatrical cut? Did you think the ultimate cut did anything better? Like, did it satisfy you? It did for me a little bit, but it's not a movie that I really want to continuously watch over and over again. It's really the length that hurts it, in my opinion, and a lot of the execution that just doesn't hit the mark. But what are your thoughts? Let me know down in the comments below. Are you excited for Zack Snyder's Justice League, his director's cut 4 hours that's going to be hitting HBO Max next month. I'm going to be reviewing the first Justice League that came out in 2017, which was started by Zack Snyder, but as he left due to personal reasons, Joss Whedon, the director of the first 2 Avengers films, stepped in, did some reshoots, and that's a movie that we gotta talk about. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, be sure to hit that notify bell so you can stay up to date on all of my videos coming here at the Hess Project. I'm currently reviewing all episodes of WandaVision every week. We got 4 more left, and it's getting real serious, guys, so you may want to stay tuned because there's always more to come.